This is the Prince Ripstick 98, and I'm sending it back about as fast as I got it because of the O-port system. This is a close-up, but here's the problem. Similar thing happens at the top here, but it's not quite as bad because it has a much more intense curve, and that curve helps to keep it centered. But on the sides here, there's really nothing. It's honestly quite flat in comparison. David Ferrer was a top player and he used the O-port system, or the Bryan brothers used the O-port system and did pretty well in doubles, or John Isner had one of the best serves of all time and he used the O-port system. Before you say any of that, it's really good to do some research, because if you zoom in closely on their rackets, you will see that their rackets were designed to avoid this exact problem that I'm talking about. So anybody citing any of those top former Prince players is only bringing up an example that actually reinforces my case that the Prince O-port system is flawed. But it didn't always used to be that way. Some people will also claim that the strings are supposed to do that this is the design intention of the racket. And that's also not true, because again, if you go and look back at older Prince O-port designs, they were never made in such a way to allow the string to simply move that far across this O-port system grommet and stay out of place. There was always something to keep it intact, like a channel or a groove, or even a grommet-like system on the speed port, which is what you're seeing here on one of the Bryan brothers rackets. Some of the marketable traits for this racket were that it allows for more string movement. And I'm not talking about on the back end, but as soon as the string starts to straighten out, it's not confined by a typical grommet. On the inner hoop here, it is basically free to move until you get down to here. Then the grommet starts securing the string a little bit more. But until then, yes, you get more string movement all the way to the back end of the frame, where on previous O-port systems it used to be secured by a groove of some kind, which I really wish this had. Another marketable quality of the racket is its aerodynamics, and I have very mixed feelings on that. So while these big channels do allow air to pass through more easily on this axis, I'm not sure that when you're hitting a ball like this, that it's actually favoring aerodynamics, because if the air is traveling over the racket like this, there's plenty of opportunities for drag to be created in all of these channels here. So if you're marketing this to optimize for drag, I think there's a lot of situations where it's actually doing the opposite. However, it is quite comfortable, and oddly enough, I get a lot of feel with this racket, but I string my tension pretty low, and I think feel is always going to be a your miles may vary type of thing. But it's possible that there's more opportunity for feel here, because there isn't a plastic grommet that is separating the string from the actual racket body. On some areas of the racket that is happening. The string will wrap around the back end and make contact with the grommet before going back into the racket string bed. However, on the O-port side of the racket, the string is tensioned and making contact with the raw racket material, minus the paint job. Which also begs the question, what happens to the paint on the O-port system here? I don't know. Over time, I imagine that the strings will move a little bit, whether it's from string jobs or actual movement that could happen from shaking a ball closer to the 3 or 9, or heck, even just hitting a ball hard enough on the sweet spot, I feel like could move the strings along the O-port system. So I feel like the paint here is subject to chip and wear and tear just from string movement. But at least on this racket with these strings at this tension, which I did in the mid 40s, I'm getting a lot of feel. And feel has been an increasingly important quality to me, as have parallel drilling and small grommets. However, obviously this racket doesn't have parallel drilling. It has the O-port system, and the O-port system is designed in a way where the holes are offset and there are no crooked crosses. So there are design details I've always appreciated about the O-port system, but unfortunately I really feel like they just let us down by not having some way to secure the strings on the back end. So when I pulled this out of the stringing machine, I noticed how off to the side they were. So I pushed them back into place, and just, I don't know. A string that moves in and out of the way so easily for me really rubs me the wrong way. Throughout its entire history, the O-port system has been criticized for being inconsistent. I can't personally confirm or deny that, but I think a lot of that does come from other people's personal experiences or interpretations of the O-port system, allowing for excessive movement of the string bed. And in this case, I have to agree, it's not just the movement, it's the fact that the string can move out of position and stay there, which would quite literally mean that if these 2 or 3 were to move to one side of the racket, that this edge of the string bed would be closer or further from the point of contact. And also, as the strings move and stay out of position, the tension is now not the same. So why Prince would allow for any kind of inconsistency like that to happen at all is honestly beyond me. I cannot think of a single benefit to not securing the strings on the back side of the O-port system, and it really begs the question, why did Prince ever do that for the vast majority of its time implementing the O-port system, and why did they stop now? If anyone has some answers, I'd really love to know. I hear that Tennis Nerd did some kind of a podcast, maybe once or twice, with a guy that allegedly has some design influence, or maybe is in some ways in a design or control position of prints, and maybe they talked about some of these things. Again, if anybody has more insight, that would be interesting, and I can dig a little bit deeper, but I wanted to make this video to say that this problem drives me insane. And to anybody that is claiming that former top pros have used the O-port system to great success, and that this issue I am describing therefore shouldn't matter, again, you guys are wrong. All of those examples are using a version of the O-port system that fixes exactly the problem that I'm talking about. So again, anyone saying that stuff is only bringing up examples that reinforce my point. That's all for now. I'm gonna be sending this racket back to Tennis Warehouse because this discovery was honestly a total buzzkill. I got this racket on Tennis Warehouse because you can only get it on Tennis Warehouse. I believe Tennis Warehouse is the exclusive distributor of Prince now. I think Prince has a history of going bankrupt and being brought back. I'm not exactly sure what the deal is between Tennis Warehouse and Prince, but as far as I know, they are the exclusive distributors in America for this once extremely relevant racket company. And my point with that is, if you want to get this racket, I think you'll have to go to Tennis Warehouse. If you want to save 20% on any other racket, you guys can go to directttennisshop.online and use my code ZeroLove to save 20% on literally any tennis racket, except Prince and Diadem or ProCanix. But my code does get you 15% off of Diadem rackets and 10% off of ProCanix rackets if you go to their respective websites. Check them out. I appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. All your support in the form of subscriptions, comments, purchases of any of the awesome products in my description, all that supports the channel, and I appreciate it very much. For now, that's all I have to say about the O-port system. But if you guys want me to do a little more digging, maybe I will. And perhaps I'll talk to the same guy that Tennis Nerd podcast had. Yeah, we'll see. Leave comments, and maybe your questions, comments, and concerns will help get the attention of somebody who can actually answer some of these questions definitively. However, I feel like if my criticisms have a lot of merit and they don't have any good answers, then they'll probably just not even respond. I have no idea what's gonna happen. Anyway, that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you've ever used the O-port system and how it's been working out for you, what your opinions are, and how you feel about this design change that allows for the strings to just move out of position and stay there. And I think my videos on Instagram and the shorts on YouTube, which have gotten a lot of positive attention in terms of likes and shares and saves, indicates that people by a vast majority agree with my criticisms of the racket. However, people in the comments, which is very typical of people in the comments, disagree. And those who disagree or are triggered by the content are more likely to comment as opposed to just like, share, or save. The ratio of critics in the comments to people who simply agree with and like the video, those haters are vastly outnumbered. But that's fine. I'm not hating on you for having a different opinion. I'm just saying, if you're gonna come at me by saying former pros use this system and therefore my criticisms don't mean anything, I don't think you understand that those O-port systems are not an example of what I am talking about. So it's not a fair comparison. Anyway, just some food for thought. Again, appreciate you. I'm gonna head out of here now, but I'll see you in the next one, and happy hitting. All right, bye for now. Boom.